messages controller and then a function or method called submit. So this doesn't exist yet, this controller, and where controllers go is in the app folder and then HTTP and then controllers. And you can see we have this, I guess this base kind of controller that that we need to extend when we create other controllers. There's also some authentication stuff in here by default, but we're not going to deal with any of that. What we want to do is create a new controller. So to do that, we can use a tool called Artisan. Okay, so we can run PHP Artisan commands to do tons of different things. To create controllers, create models, database migrations, all kinds of stuff. So what we're going to do is pull up the command line, and let's clear this out. And we're going to create a controller. So we'll say PHP Artisan, and then we want to do create : controller. I'm sorry, it's not create, it's make controller. Okay, and then after that we want to put the name of the controller, which is going to be messages controller. All right, so it was created successfully, and now if you look in our controllers folder, we have messages controller. Okay, now up at the top here, it gives us this, it says namespace. This basically means that this class belongs in the controllers. Okay, so app HTTP controllers. And then this here, when we say use, it means that we want to pull something out and use it. And illuminate, basically you can kind of think of this as Laravel. So we're going to take it from Laravel out of HTTP request. Okay, and this basically allows us to handle requests. All right, so if we're routed to a controller method and there's a parameter attached, an ID or something, we can use a request to get it. Okay, then we're just defining the class here, and we're extending controller. Okay, anytime you create a controller, you need to extend this core controller. So if we look in the routes, we're submitting this to a function or a method called submit. So let's create that. We'll say public function submit. Okay, and public just means that we can access this from outside of the class. So for now, let's just say return 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go back to our contact page and let's submit it, and you'll see that it's just returning 1, 2, 3. So we know that this function is being called. Now, in order to access the contact fields, the data that's typed in here, we need to use this request. Okay, so in the submit, we're going to pass in request and then the variable that we want, which is request. Okay, and then we can access these fields by saying request input, and then in here you want to put the name, the form name, which will get the name field. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that, and we'll just type in test for the name and submit, and we get test. So that's how we can access these fields. Now we want to do some validation because we don't want, for instance, no name to be, right now we can submit it even if there's no name, and I don't want that. I want these fields, at least the name and the email, to be required. Now when we use a controller that's extending this core controller, we have all the methods and properties, anything that's available in the core controller we can use, and there's something called validate. There's a method called validate that we can use. So what we're going to do is we're going to say this, okay, meaning this class, and then the function we want is validate. All right, and then in here we just want to pass in request and then an array, an associative array with the field we want, which is name, and then the rules, or rules can be more than one, but we just want required. All right, and then we'll say email also required. Okay, and then down here let's just return, we'll just return success. Okay, and now if we go back and reload and we submit, what's this? Expected, let's see, oh, I need a comma right here. Okay, so we'll resubmit, and you'll see that it's not returning success. It's not moving past this point because this isn't okay. If I were to put stuff in here, then we could submit. Now, we need a way to let the user know what's going on, because right now it's just not doing anything. And when this runs, it actually puts out the errors. We just need to basically catch them in our template or in our view. So what we'll do is go to app.blade.php and figure out where we want to put these messages, which I think should go right above the main content, so right here. And we can say if count, which is a function that'll just count errors. We want to say, yeah, errors, and if that is greater than 0, so if the errors are greater than 0, whoops, then we want to do a for each loop and basically loop through these errors. So let's do at for each, and we're going to say errors all as error. All right, and then we have to end the for each. And in here, what we want to do is display each error. Now I want to display it in a div, and we're using Bootstrap, so I'm going to say alert and then alert danger, which is going to make it red. And then in here, we just want to spit out the error. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that and submit. And now we get our errors. The name field is required, the email field is required. Now I don't like having all this stuff in my template itself or in my layout, so I'm going to create an include here called messages.blade.php, and any errors or messages I want to be in this file, and then we'll just include it. So let's grab this and we'll cut that out, and then we'll just put include, and that's going to be inc.messages. Okay, and then we'll go and paste this in here, and we should be all set. If we submit, still works. All right, so that's validation. Now what we want to happen when we submit this in our controller, we want to call a model, a message model, and then insert it into the database. So we don't have a database yet. We haven't created one. So in the next video, we'll create the database, we'll set up the model, and I'll also introduce you to migrations.